there was an idea. The idea was to bring together a group of remarkable people and see if they could become something more. See if they could work together when we needed them to fight the battles we never could. That's Nick Fury from the Avengers. That's have you seen that movie?
Oh, neat. Yes. Yeah, I've seen it once, I think.
Yeah, unrelated to anything happening today. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. I'm having an extraordinary day.
Are you?
I guess.
Wow, that's how gentlemanly of you.
Yes, I'm in a league of my own.
Yeah, well, we might as well quit because it's not going to get any better than this at this point.
And we've got no more kind of jokes to make about the title. We covered them all. Yeah. Welcome to the show. We've got another year in film episode. This year was 2003. And
yep,
we had a vote. And I'm trying to remember. I'm going to scroll down to see what the options were again. We had...
Wow. You don't remember?
I do. Well, I remember mine. I remember Bruce Almighty.
Oh, ouch.
I remember yours because it was this film. I don't remember. Oh, okay. So here it is. This is the one I couldn't remember. Here's all four. So I've got The Core. I've got How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Those two were kind of dead in the water. It was really between League of Extraordinary Gentlemen and Bruce Almighty. Both had a relatively solid following, but League of Extraordinary Gentlemen really pulled away with the popular vote, and the Patreon vote really blew it out of the water.
Which is interesting to me, because this movie, like, if we're going off Rotten Tomatoes,
yeah,
this movie got poo-pooed on pretty hard.
Really?
Well, it has a tomato meter score of 17 and an audience score of 44, which is,
okay.
I mean, is higher.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Huh. That's pretty brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. But, yeah, we'll get into whether that's a justified score or not.
Yeah.
You've seen this movie before?
I've seen it once. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Long time ago, more recently?
Well, you know, I'm going to tell my one exposure to this film. And we'll get into, when we get into the meat and we're going to do trivia, we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of this film. I want to know what your exposure was and what your thoughts of this film were. So maybe we can tie those together in a minute.
Okay.
But my one exposure to this film, gosh, it's been years. I might even say in the range of like 5 to 10, closer to 10. And so this film, we'll talk about what I gave it because I tried to view it objectively, but this film has a very nostalgic connection to me. And so I will always have trouble critiquing it or praising it to the full degree that it's worthy because of that nostalgia. So I watched this film randomly, just on a whim, with my wife. But at the time, she wasn't my wife. She wasn't even my girlfriend. We were just two homies hanging out. And
wow. If that doesn't speak to the power of this film.
The end credits rolled up and I was like, let's get married.
And she said, yes, she was so overwhelmed by the prospect that maybe Sean Connery's character wasn't actually dead, that she was just like,
oh yeah.
She was like, Pete, carry me over the threshold, sir.
Yeah. No, we watched this and watched this film, and her dad walked in while we were watching it and pulled a Brady and did a Sean Connery impression and started going, "A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen," and just started talking like Sean Connery. And I laughed a lot, probably laughed more than I should have, but I just had fun at that moment, had fun watching that film, or at least I remember having fun. And that was my experience walking into it this week when I watched it again. I was curious to see how it would hold up.
And
I'll get into that later. The order of proceedings I'd like is we'll do some trivia, and then I want your feelings.
All right.
Yeah. So, my question is one question, and I think you know the answer, but I still want to ask it just in case you don't, and just in case the audience doesn't know. I think it's worthy of knowing, or at least it's worthy of chit-chatting about. So, as most people know, or at least some people know, this was the final live-action role for Sean Connery before he retired in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
So leading up to this role, leading up to his... Oh, go ahead.
Which really, technically, he retired in 2003 then. But
right, exactly. I mean, I didn't look. I'm assuming he must have been a voice in something, and that's why... Was he the voice in From Russia with Love, the video game? Like, is that what they're saying he did?
Yeah, I was thinking that's probably the only thing that, you know.
Yeah. So I'd say this is pretty much the last acting role. I'm okay calling it. Leading up to this role, leading up to his final role in League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he turned down a couple roles actually. So I'm going to list 3 roles for you, and he turned down 2 of them. One of them is just a red herring. It's not true. It's not based on anything other than just me randomly throwing something on a page. So you got to tell me which were the roles he actually turned down. Can you do that for me?
I know one for sure without you even giving me options.
Okay. Well, I'm going to give some options, and
I'm
let's
not
see how
sure
you do.
the other one.
Okay. The first is he turned down a role in the Matrix trilogy.
Ooh, as Morpheus?
We'll talk about it once you guess.
Or Neo. Or the Oracle.
Is Agent Smith.
Yeah.
Boy.
Ooh. I just don't want to be a part of this system anymore.
Okay. The second,
Hello, Mr. Anderson. Welcome back. We've missed you.
I'm impressed not only with the accent, but I'm impressed how many lines from The Matrix you just remember off the top of your head. That's impressive.
Oh, yeah. Agent Smith is like the best. He's so good.
He's pretty badass. So the first option, he turned down a role in the Matrix trilogy. The second option, he turned down a role in the Pirates of the Caribbean series.
Ooh. Okay.
It is Orlando Bloom's character, obviously.
Yeah, well, I was thinking as Miss Swan, but... How many times, Will, must I tell you to call me Elizabeth?
I wasn't anticipating laughing so much during this question. It was supposed to be serious. The third and final option, he turned down a role in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, okay. So I know
just to clarify again, one of these is a red herring, 2 of them are true that he turned down.
Okay. So I know for sure that he turned down a role in The Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
He was supposed to, or, had the potential to play Gandalf.
Sure.
But I think famously, I think I watched an interview with him, and he was like, yeah, I got it, and I just didn't understand. I just didn't understand it.
Whoa. Wow.
Yeah. I just didn't understand the role. I didn't understand the film. I didn't think audiences would get it. And I just thought that it was a bad idea overall. And so he turned it down. And yeah. And was on record saying that it was like a big effing mistake. He acknowledges
right
that it was a boneheaded move.
So I'll tell you right off the bat, that is one. Obviously, Gandalf was, like you said, the role he could have played, and it was crazy. I'm not sure the exact figure, but they gave some estimates, and just the amount of money he passed up in. And at that point in your career, it's not really about the money. It's more just about playing a substantial role and having like a meaningful part. He did pass on a big part. I think it was probably for the best. I don't know if it was for his skill set to play Gandalf, but that is one of them that he passed up.
Right. I don't think Pirates of the Caribbean. I just can't picture who he would have played. And especially by that point, like,
Yeah.
because Curse of the Black Pearl came out. Oh, same year as this one. Okay. Really, 2003. I'm going to go with. I think I've heard The Matrix at one point.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with The Matrix. I think they probably
Sure.
wanted him to play Morpheus.
So it was The Matrix. It was not Morpheus. It was the Architect, who doesn't show up till the second film. And I forget if he's in the third film or not, but it was the second film that he's for sure, I guess, would have been in if he had accepted the role of the Architect. So he passed up on The Matrix, passed up on Lord of the Rings, and you nailed it. That's good.
So I have in my knowledge bank. So I didn't know about that.
Sure.
I have in my knowledge bank 4 other major roles that Sean Connery turned down.
Oh, wow.
And I could share those with you if you care.
I would like you to.
So because they weren't willing to pay him enough, Sean Connery did not appear as John Hammond in Jurassic Park.
What? What? Oh, I don't see it. Classic
Because
actor. I don't see it.
Because he didn't want to do kids' movies. He didn't appear as Dumbledore in Harry Potter.
Oh, really?
He's
That one-
not into the whole wizard gig, apparently. That's
Yeah, that's a trend
much
I'm
for him.
noticing here.
He turned down playing Simon Gruber in Die Hard with a Vengeance
Oh, man.
because he thought the villain was too evil.
Okay.
And then I don't know the reason, but he passed on playing Rick Dickard in Ridley Scott's Blade Runner movie.
Haven't seen, so I can't comment, but
But
Interesting.
yeah, I've built an island. It's a bit of a nature reserve, actually. We have a
pretty interesting
T-Rex.
on those first
I'll
ones,
show
though,
you.
that I can comment on.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
The only thing I'll finish it off with, just related to League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, he obviously did accept this. Apparently his wage was pretty hefty, though, contextually or proportionately to the film. And as a result, the filmmakers had not much flexibility to attract other high-profile stars for the cast, just because that ate up a lot of that budget as far as acting accordingly, apparently.
Oh, okay, yeah, sure, all right.
So I am curious because I think if I read the tea leaves correctly, I think obviously you chose this film for the vote, so you had some interest either way to talk about it. But if I read the tea leaves correctly, I think you wanted this to win, and I'm curious what your thoughts of this film were or why you wanted it to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a bitter topic because if you read the tea leaves correctly, you'll actually see that that I have the Grim, but
The what?
but that's okay.
Oh, I see.
Really, you've forgotten? Shall we go back and do I need to play some Harry Potter rap recaps for you?
Oh, right.
Because
Sorry.
I can do that. Professor Trajani,
Yeah.
you know, you have the
Is that
Grim.
is that in the volume 1 or volume? That'd be the volume 1 rap, right? The Deathly Hallows.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is that record went platinum. Yeah, okay. So, I mean, I saw this movie probably not long after it came out.
Cool.
I've been aware of this film pretty much its whole existence. It and Medicine Man were my 2 childhood exposures to Sean Connery.
Interesting.
So this film is a part of my Sean Connery fandom, right? So like I grew up with, you know, if I was quoting him as a kid, it was saying lines like "too soon." Well, that was bloody close, and at 500 yards too, right? Like those were the lines that I was practicing. Stuff like that.
Wow.
Stuff like, if you can't do it with one bullet, don't do it at all. Right? that was my childhood.
Right.
And so I definitely wanted this movie to win. I wanted to go back. It had been a really long time since I'd seen it. And I had fond memories of it. But I was also aware that the industry as a whole does not have fond memories of it. But then seeing everyone else vote for it made me optimistic. So I was curious to go back and watch it and get a feel for, is my love for this movie misplaced? And I'm happy to announce that I don't think it is.
Okay.
I think the movie's a lot of fun.
Sure.
I mean, you've got, you know, it's basically the Avengers. Right? It's basically, okay, we got to get this team together of a bunch of crazy badasses that all kind of exist on their own. We have Alan Quatermain. And they're all like 18th century literacy characters, right?
Yeah.
We have Alan Quatermain. We have Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Mm-hmm. We have Mina Harker, the vampire hunter who worked alongside Van Helsing, but then Dracula was like obsessed with her. And although she was trying to kill him, he was like, Mina, I want to be with you forever. Like, yeah, it was like he was obsessed with her. We have an incarnation of the Invisible Man.
Right. And for legality reasons, I think they called him an Invisible Man to just not infringe on any copyright issues.
Rodney Skinner. I don't know if that's the original. Like in this one, they were kind of talking about like, well, yes, I have heard of that, but didn't that guy die? And they're like, well, yeah, he did, but his process didn't. I stole it.
Yeah.
And now I'm using it for myself so I can steal goodies from all the, you know. You have him, you have Dorian Gray, and you have Captain Nemo, and Tom Sawyer, who I did not realize until this viewing that Special Agent Sawyer was Tom Sawyer.
That's actually, I also had that in common with you. I didn't notice it till this viewing, and I went, oh.
Yeah, and I was like, ooh, that's spicy. So I mean, and it's just a lot of fun, right? You've got vampires, you've got, it's just, you know, and then sort of a Phantom-esque dude who's your main villain, who turns out to be the guy who hired you, which is giving Sean Connery major PTSD from the last time he took orders from a guy named M.
Yeah.
And who turns out to be Moriarty.
Yes. Yeah. Wow.
And so that's kind of fun. And then you realize that this whole movie, this whole conundrum exists because Sherlock Holmes is not doing his damn job. If Holmes was keeping his nemesis in check, we wouldn't have this. We wouldn't have this situation.
Sure.
But listen, I feel the same way now as I've always felt. This is another case of a film that probably for box office reasons nobody even talked about. Nobody considered, nobody raised an eyebrow at the idea of a sequel.
Right.
But my God, this film lends itself to a sequel. You know,
Yeah,
with
it could.
a sequel with Connery, because what's that bullshit cliffhanger ending? Where
Yeah.
Africa wouldn't let him die, and there's like the African witch doctor who's working the mojo over
Right.
and all of a sudden, you know, the dirt's shaking, and you're like, oh shit, he's coming back, sweet.
He's coming back for blood.
He's coming back, man. And then there's all kinds of like, because there was comics. Like, I don't know if you know this, but the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is based off of a comic series.
I only found this out within the past week, so I kind of knew. I knew, but just only recently.
Right? So, Rodney Skinner, John Carter. Like, from the John Carter movie that we got from Disney. Hang on. Jump to characters. Characters in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. Ishmael, Griffin, Emma Knight. There's others that they can pull from. And really, I mean, even if you weren't wanting to stay completely true to the source material, there's all kinds of other people who you could have brought into this
Sure. Yeah, you could.
from the same era of literature, right? There's enough of those, like, you know, the Wolfman and shit like that. There's so much that you could bring into these comics or into these movies, and just kind of make them this big exploration of, you know, of 18th century literature.
Yeah.
So, no, I think this movie's great. I think it deserves. Oh yeah, see, at one point, the Gulliver from Gulliver's Travels, he makes an appearance in the books. But do you know what I mean? Like, you could have Victor Frankenstein a part of this. You could have, or not even Victor, but you could just have Igor, right? You could have like all of these characters. You could have Sherlock Holmes show up, or even just, again, if you want to go obscure, you could have John Watson show up. You could have
Right.
1800s book characters. Anyways, it deserves a sequel.
It could.
Right?
Yeah.
You could have Captain Ahab.
Sure.
Oh God,
yeah,
Captain Ahab. That would have been, that's so cool. And totally fitting that the guy's kind of a badass. He's a little bit terrifying. He's super obsessed. He would make a great character.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's my biggest complaint. We should have had a sequel. Going back and watching it, I think it's exciting. I think it's fun. The Nautilus is huge. I looked it up, and it's like twice the length the Titanic was.
Oh wow.
And which makes it like just kind of seem impractical at that point.
This is the submarine you're talking about, right?
Yeah, Captain Nemo's
Very much.
submarine.
Like, I mean, when they're when they're cruising around in Venice, I feel like they did more architectural damage than the actual terrorists did.
Possibly. Yeah. But, and you know what? With a few exceptions, and even then, they're not consistent exceptions. They just show up periodically. I would say the visual effects in this movie hold up.
Oh wow.
There's a couple of shots of Jekyll and we'll call him bad guy Jekyll that are a little screwy, but all of the stuff with the Invisible Man and Briefly, Dorian Gray's transition into dead Dorian Gray is a little janky. But it's 2003.
Yeah.
This is 18 years ago.
Oh, don't remind me.
And so, which is also crazy to me that we've done like 17 of these,
Yeah.
year by year episodes.
Right.
But yeah, given the fact that it's 2003, there was a couple moments where it's like, it's a little funny looking. But there was nothing that was like jarringly bad. There was nothing that was like, oh, this is terrible. Why does this look like this? Yeah, there's nothing that was even by the standards that my brain has from watching CGI nowadays. There was nothing that was jarringly bad to me.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's my take.
That's your take. Okay. I respect what you're saying. I would probably disagree with what you're saying, at least to the degree of it holding up. So I do find it interesting, and I made a list of this because I wouldn't have gotten all the references. I knew some, but it draws on a lot of works, like you said, of H.G. Wells, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, Ian Fleming, Oscar Wilde, Edgar Allan Poe, and just like we found out just this week, Mark Twain with Tom Sawyer. But my interest was piqued when I started watching it, and to say the first 10 minutes, I was like, oh boy, like, pull up the popcorn, I'm ready. And then I would say as I watched it, there was a bit of a lull throughout parts of it, bridging to the end. And I immediately thought of a comparable, which I like more, which then made me critique this one a little bit harder. And I think a better example, or at least a film that I like more as a comparable, that covers a lot of the same things, that covers the world verging on war, and specifically James Moriarty, is the 2011 Sherlock Holmes Game of Shadows. It has better effects. I would say the character development is better. The Robert Downey Jr. and other star power is greater. To me, the soundtrack is superior, and the biggest clincher for me is just from beginning to end, I was more captivated in that than I was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. There was just something that I kind of got lost in at parts, where I would just kind of like lose a little bit of interest. That I don't know if it was too many tangents or taking too long to connect the dots. I'm not sure if it was just one thing specifically with all these cool characters, and maybe this is part of my interest that was waning. For the example of, say, Dorian Gray, I thought the premise of him, I'm not too familiar with him outside of this film, so there's just this whole backstory of him, of how he has this portrait and how it's his downfall if he looks at it. And I just find it so captivating, so interesting. And it's really just like the beginning scene of him where we see him getting shot and then healing immediately from it. And this conclusion of him looking at this picture and then deceasing from it. And if there was just a bit more delving into each of these characters, I think I maybe could have been more interested and captivated. But really, it kind of skimmed a little bit on each character, and not to a degree that I was invested enough. And it really, the only person that we got, I remember, depth on was Sean Connery's character, Mr. Quatermain, about his son dying and him being pissy at the country of Britain. But even then, there wasn't a whole lot of growth with Quatermain. Like, his outlook towards women on endeavors wasn't really the best as far as respecting women.
Sean Connery.
Yeah, there was a bit of like the pot acting the kettle black or whatever. I don't know what you'd call it in that case, but yeah, there was, when he was saying all these things about women should not be involved in all these missions, I was like, oh, come on. And I think he changed a little bit by the end of the film because he respected her to some degree, but I didn't see a lot of growth and a lot of change character wise. And so I think there was just a lot of things where there's a lot of potential here, but it wasn't really ignited in a way that really captured me like it was in Sherlock Holmes' Game of Shadows. I know in some ways it's apples and oranges, but in some ways it just takes the concepts that I'm interested in and propels them a bit further. I do feel the CGI, I think I agree and disagree. I think it's a tale of two cities. There's some scenes where I honestly thought, wow, this is painfully awful when this submarine is introduced to us, when some of Venice was collapsing. But I will admit, there were some scenes where I thought, this isn't as bad as some people are saying, where we saw skylines of London, where we saw, like, the Invisible Man, I think, was flawless. I didn't have a problem with him in any scene. So I would say it's true and false. I think a lot of people say that CGI doesn't hold up. I'd say it does and it doesn't. And you know what? Can you whitewash and say, hey, it's 2003, live and let die, like, forget it? Maybe. Maybe not if it really bothers you. So I'm kind of on the fence with that. It doesn't age well, but you got to give it a pass to some degree. But yeah, the film didn't really do as much as I thought it did in my memory, and as much as I think it could, if that makes sense.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? I enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it. You know, like there's some films we would watch, and I would feel a pull to try to change your view on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just not there. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I enjoy this movie, but I'm okay if nobody else enjoys it. I'm not,
right. Right.
You know, yeah. You know, if you told me, if you were to be like, oh, well, Edward Scissorhands is a bad movie, well, I'd fight you on that. I would say, like,
right.
Your opinion is wrong.
Right.
But you know, here it's like, it's, you know, it's just not for you. And I think that's totally cool. You know, I think it's a fun world that they've set up.
Right.
It's a shame. It's a shame, in my opinion, that we never got more.
Well, and that's the thing that was always I've always questioned, or has always stumped me, was what was the significance of this final scene? Because is it just supposed to be ambiguous and open-ended that maybe he's coming back, maybe he's not? But the fact that there was never a sequel then kind of added to that question in me, that what was the intent with this? So I've always wondered, but it is surprising that there was never a sequel.
Yeah, and I've looked online for hints that there was maybe a canned sequel, and I couldn't find anything. There was a canned reboot in 2015.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But I couldn't even see anything as far as casting decisions, so I don't know how far that got.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I do like Game of Shadows. I think it's an entirely, you know, I don't necessarily think it's apples to apples here.
For sure.
You know, not being, because this is an ensemble film.
Yeah.
Whereas Game of Shadows wasn't. It was very much a Sherlock Holmes film.
And I think it speaks more to maybe what I was interested in, because I think if I was going into it with, I think, a fair analogy that you gave, that say this is an Avengers film, then that would have me kind of grappling at different topics. But because I was intrigued by hey, we're on the verge of war and some literary characters, I think that's why I was honing in on what I was honing in on. But I think you're fair. To a degree, it really is apples and oranges to a degree. But that is where my mind went, just because I was interested in that.
I think potentially I'm just a sucker for ensemble films.
Sure.
I mean, you know, so spoilers for the terrible Tom Cruise Mummy movie.
Right.
But despite that film being hot trash, when Russell Crowe shows up as Dr. Jekyll.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I had this moment of like, whoa, like, you know, because at that point they were still trying to get like their dark universe, the Universal monster universe up and running with like Dracula Untold and this, and then like a Wolfman movie and stuff. And it just kind of crumbled. Now they've sort of mostly abandoned that idea, and they're just going to do a bunch of standalone stuff.
Yeah, it would seem.
the Invisible Man was kind of sort of supposed to be a part of that. Not really, who knows.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I just love ensemble films. I love Easter eggs like that. I love, the fact that this world exists. I love that, when Alan Quatermain first arrives in London and someone says, oh, you made it in impeccable time, Mr. Quatermain. And he says, he says something about, well, not compared to Phineas Fogg. Around the world in 80 days. Can you believe that? Right. And it was like,
yeah.
Oh, wow. Like this is another thing that happened and existed inside this world, inside this universe that they have, right? That book is also being taken seriously, that's a part of this.
Right.
So all of that, like, I just find that stuff really exciting and such a rich potential, just full of fun Easter eggs.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, Sean Connery's great in this movie, I think.
I have to
whether you
admit,
like his character or not.
really is. We were talking about him quite a bit in the beginning and having some laughs, but he is, for this film, he's actually pretty respectable, and it's not the same. I didn't have the same experience as you. This was my role. This is his role that I grew up with. That would probably fall into the Indiana Jones Last Crusade. That would probably be my equivalent, but definitely a solid role. Definitely a solid acting feat in his resume, and is kind of like the final role he acted in. Yeah, it's very solid.
Okay. Yeah. I think the fighting in this movie is actually really good. I think there's a lot of fun action.
I would agree that some is good. I think that's where some parts I got lost in, just because, I don't know, I'm not a huge Jekyll and Hyde fan, so I think specifically his fighting scenes near the climax, I was just a little, okay, we get it. You're big. You have someone else who also is like you. You're fighting. Let's kind of wrap this up. So there were some fighting sequences that I was just kind of over. I was ready to move on. But there were some that were intriguing, kind of like the long kind of landscape shooting scenes at the beginning and the end. And there were some things that I was interested in, but some I did not need.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, overall, it looks like we're of two minds on this movie.
Yeah.
And that's cool. You don't have to watch it again. It'll probably be a number of years before I will.
Right.
But
It's
I will
not
definitely probably watch it again.
It's not in every Christmas or every 4th of July film for you kind of thing.
No.
Yeah.
But if I were to come across someone who I knew was familiar with this like these characters, but had not seen the movie, I would be like, oh wow, like have I got a treat for you.
Sure.
And
Right.
I think that's probably a big part of it, right? Like if you have a lot of exposure to these characters, this is probably a far different experience for you.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
So, do you have anything else?
No, I think that about covers it.
Okay, 0 to 10.
Okay, let me scroll down. Sorry, I got my computer mouse. On a scale of 0 to 10, I gave it a 4.4 out of 10. So on my scale, I think that actually is pretty accurate. It's in the I would rent it, I wouldn't buy it on DVD, but I definitely would put it higher than the, hey, I guess if I'm at the cottage, there's no Wi-Fi and it's raining. Like, it's not at that level. So it's in the, hey, I would pay money to rent it, but definitely in your category, I don't need to watch it every year. I personally might not watch it again, but I might. On Marshall's scale, I give it a 4. There were some things on it that I was almost a 5, but I think I'm probably a 4 out of 10. It's not a bad film, but like I said, with the concept of, hey, turn of the century ensemble or turn of the century kind of wars looming, there's other films that I like more. As far as ensemble, which I think you make the point, it's more applicable to talk about ensemble. I think there's more rich ensemble, even if it's Marvel films that kind of have a more richer character kind of weaving throughout that maintains my interest a bit more at times. So
Sure.
Not a bad film. And as I said, there's some key story points that I do find interesting and the nostalgic part of it. So I don't hate on this film, but it didn't win my heart.
Right. Okay.
What did you give it out of 10?
Out of 10, I give this a 7.8.
Oh, wow. That's respectable on a scale of 10.
I do think it's really good, man.
Okay.
You know, yeah. Are there moments where I'm like, oh, the story's a little repetitive, or like maybe the flow's not quite there? Yeah, sort of. There's just so many great moments in it, though. Like even just when Captain Nemo's line and he's like, I call it an automobile. And you're like, ooh, cool. This is 1899. This is like, not only is this like the first car, but this car is like bougie as shit. This thing is like,
like
really this is a crazy car.
Like this car in 1984 would still probably kick some ass, but even like at 1899, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, like when he's done with this car, he passes it on to Cruella de Vil. Like, it's, you know.
Right.
Yeah, so 7.8.
That's okay, cool. Yeah.
All right. What'd you watch this week?
I'm trying to remember. I always have an issue. I think, I watch The Wiggles every week, but I think the only thing respectable worth talking about is, I think I watched one film, and I think it was called Dig. It was on Netflix. Starred one of my top 10 actors, Ralph Fiennes. It's relatively new, or at least I've only started hearing about it recently of other people watching it. It was decent. I'm not sure if I'd recommend it. It's just this slightly true biographical film about this archaeologist digger guy who starts digging on these mysterious dirt hills in England near World War II, and it was interesting. I think the film, from a character perspective, maybe bit off more than it could chew. I think it was just trying to do too much. You know, with like historical films, I think sometimes you try and add some character depth, whether it's true or fictitious, and it's just to give some dimension. And this film, I think, tried to do that, but it did it, I think, with too many of characters, like not only the main ones, but some peripheral ones. So I'm not giving anything away by saying that, but I think there was just some things that it was just trying to cover that maybe took away from, there was only so much screen time that you could give, and I think there was just some stuff that was, you just pick what you want to do, stay in your lane, and pick 2 out of these 3 things. Don't do all 3. Do 2 things well versus skimming over 3. That's kind of what I'm talking about. So not a bad film, interesting, but I think it could have been a bit more impactful or profound if it had just kind of hedged its bets and said, let's focus on these characters, make them interesting, and then we'll kind of relate it to this underlying true story. So
cool.
Yeah. What did you watch this week?
Not a damn thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I think is cool. The first time I've said that since we've started this show.
I honestly,
coming up on 2 years ago.
Yeah, which as a side note is kind of wild.
Yeah. Also fun that so we're already talking about episode 150.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure episode 150 is going to correspond pretty much dead on with the 2-year anniversary.
That's some wild, wow.
Is going to be some hooting and hollering.
It's also wild. So that's wild. And it's like, it's just kind of landing on that naturally. So it's not derived. But it's also interesting that our 125th episode was also a special episode where we had Marshall on the show. So all these kind of random things are kind of aligning. So it's interesting.
Yeah. Can I wrap this up? I never wrap it up. Can I?
I want you to wrap it up. Can I say one thing before you wrap it up?
Yeah.
I want to give some overdue shout outs to our Patreons who support us at a certain level and above. I want to give a shout out to Marshall. I want to give a shout out to Daphne. I want to give a shout out to Brenna. Thank you for being a tier 3 or above patron. We appreciate all your support. We appreciate all our patron support. And this shout out is for you.
Thanks, guys. Also, comment down below, wherever you may be. Subscribe to us if you're not already subscribed to us on whatever service or platform you're listening to us on. Just subscribe. Most of these platforms give you the option to, like, when we release an episode, it will just download it for you and you already have it. You don't have to think twice about it. Your phone will just be like, hey, look, I did a thing. And you'll be like, great. But yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Patreon. Can I talk about Patreon for a second?
Please.
So here's the thing. We're in the process of trying to upgrade the show. And I'm going to be candid about it. It's going to be like $1,000 worth of upgrades. But they're upgrades that are going to allow us to have guests who sound better. Like from a mic standpoint, not like, not like, just, nicer voices. No. It's going to allow us to do that. It's going to allow us to just streamline our show immensely. And which will just kind of ensure the longevity of the show, really.
Sure.
Is kind of, is kind of the angle that we're coming at it from. But we can't do it without your help, without your support. Pete has a family. I have textbooks. And therefore, neither of us have a whole lot of spending money. And everything that you guys give to us through Patreon goes immediately back into the show. I have not bought one Snickers or Mars bar with the Patreon money. In fact, we haven't made a withdrawal from our Patreon account. It's sitting there. We're trying to accumulate so that we can do these upgrades and potentially do some fun future stuff with video episodes, video shows, and stuff like that. And so, yeah, if you can help us out, that would be huge. $1 a month goes such a long way. And then there are other options from there, depending on how much you like our show. But $1 a month would be super, super, super awesome. So please give it a consideration. I want to thank you for listening. Whether you're listening because you're related to us and you feel obligated, or they're playing us through the PA system at work, which is weird. If that's happening, please contact us and let us know. We will contact the authorities for you. Or if you're just listening because, that's the best way for you to fall asleep. If for some sick, sadistic, twisted reason, you should probably talk to a professional about, you find our voices comforting, then thank you for listening. It means the world to Pete and me, but also Pete.